Hello and welcome to this video. I am Dr. Jessica Bogunovich. I am the program chair of the Multiple Subject, Single Subject MAT program here at UMass Global. Today, I wanted to go over a very important concept, which is selecting your focus students for your math cycle, CalTPA. So sit back, listen up, and take notes if you need to. Let's get into it. So, for your CalTPA math cycle, you are going to be choosing three focus students. So, let's dive right in. Focus student one, you're going to be choosing some type of student who needs language focus. So, this could be an English language learner, a multilingual learner, which means using more than one language at home, a heritage language learner, a reclassified English learner. The most important thing to keep in mind for you when choosing this is that the student benefits from intentional language scaffolds during math instruction. So, academic language development during math instruction. So, something to consider, or some things to consider when selecting your focus student, you want to think about what do they understand, what don't they understand. So, that you want to pick someone who understands some concepts of math, but they struggle to explain their thinking verbally or in writing. They use informal language or home language, gestures to reason. And they could benefit from things such as sentence frames, manipulatives, modeling, visuals, so additional supports. This will allow you to clearly demonstrate how your instructional choices support both the math instruction and understanding and the academic language development, both of which are required for math cycle and for constructing language or learning objectives or learning outcomes. When you choose a student, you want to try to avoid a student who is completely nonverbal in English or fluent in English, because that wouldn't give you much room to support their academic language development or their math understanding of the concepts. And then also somebody who is performing above grade level. And again, because you want to be able to support somebody who needs that additional help getting to grade level. This allows you to demonstrate those different scaffolds, such as modeling, and feedback and reflection. All right, let's move on to focus student two. Focus student two is a student who needs additional support with math. This could be a math learning need intense. So they're far below basic learning skills, a math disability such as dyscalculia. They have an IEP specific goal for math, a 504 plan, or they need or have multi-tiered support system for math. The student should benefit from intentional math scaffolds, not remediation. So when you're focusing on focus student two and choosing this student, you want to choose a student who demonstrates partial understanding of the math concept and they have maybe an identifiable misconception or some kind of gap related to the lesson that you're focusing on. They might need support with conceptual understanding, how to choose a specific strategy to solve a problem. They don't understand quite how to solve a problem using multi-steps and reasoning. So they have a little bit of the understanding, but they need to take that a step further, and you need to provide those extra constructs or extra scaffolds there. This allows you to identify and justify why the student needs that additional support based on evidence, not just assumptions. Do not select a student who has needs unrelated to math instruction. Remember, this is the math cycle. And then also don't choose a student who would prevent you or would prevent participation in the planned activities or tasks. So someone who would neglect being there, maybe they're absent all the time, or they have pull-out instruction during the math time. Remember that the rubric evaluates your instructional decisions, not circumstances beyond the lesson scope. All right, let's get into focus student 3. This is somebody who is challenged in the classroom, but they have issues that don't quite necessarily have to do with math or school. This could be something unrelated to, in classroom, so outside factors. This might be a recent divorce, they're homeless, they're in foster care, they have violence in the home, they have asthma or another health-related challenge, they have trauma, some kind of issue not directly related to classroom instruction. This selection would demonstrate that you know how context affects learning behaviors. So how to choose this student? You demonstrate, the student demonstrates inconsistent engagement in the math instruction. They have difficulties focusing or paying attention when you're teaching. They show great anxiety during problem solving or other math concepts. They withdraw from group work. They lack persistence with the more challenging tasks. For example, they just want to give up. This allows you to demonstrate that they understand you understand, how context affects learning behaviors. And this is really what the rubric is looking for. You don't want to choose a student who, again, would prevent engagement with the task or requires support outside the scope of instruction. Again, you're looking for instructional decision making that has to do with math instruction, not external interventions. So those are how to choose and select your focus students 1, 2, and 3 so that you can effectively and efficiently complete your CalTPAs based on rubrics. Now, let's just look at some of the other requirements of the rubrics, looking at focus students 1, 2, and 3 as a whole. So one important thing is your planned intentional scaffolds. What are those? These are things in math such as visual models and representations, the purposeful manipulatives or tools that you select for the lessons, sentence frames or math talk structures to help with those academic language development learning goals that you create, chunk directions or guided questions, think alouds and modeling. This might be your think pair shares and your elbow or partner talks, things like that. Something to keep in mind here. These scaffolds must be planned, not improvised. One thing that's very important with the math cycle is you want to demonstrate intentionality. So this has to be something that you intentionally plan to support these students. Another part of the rubrics is engaging students in learning and math instruction. So you want to adjust the task complexity. You want to offer additional prompts or cues. You want to provide choice in how students explain their thinking. Use small groups and individual check-ins. This is, of course, where you are showing that intentional differentiation. And then monitoring student learning and giving that actionable feedback. This is a very important part of the CalTPA Math Cycle. So your selection of strong focus students will attempt the task even if they're not correct. So they're not afraid to give it a try. They don't shut down. They don't shy away from it. They know that they might have a challenge, but they're willing to go ahead and try it, and they know that they can trust you to help them out. They make thinking visible. They do this through their work samples, their verbal responses, their drawings, their math journals, other actions, maybe their gestures. Your monitoring includes noticing just more than their incorrect answers or their correct answers. You need to notice their misconceptions, their gaps in learning, and how they're engaging with others in the classroom and yourself. Your feedback must be actionable in the moment, so right away. You have to address the math goal or strategy, encourage persistence and growth, and help them move forward. Your feedback is most effective for students when it can be applied right away and immediate. And then we are at the conclusion here. When describing any of your focus students throughout your CalTPA, you want to highlight equity and access. You want to highlight their strengths and their effort. Avoid deficits and judgment. So avoid those negative tones when you're writing your CalTPA and when you're videotaping your lessons. Frame challenges as opportunities of growth so that you can show that you understand that growth mindset and that students can learn with scaffolds and those additional supports in place. Use asset-based language, both in the videos and the writing. Describe impact on learning, not personal details. You want to keep those out of the writing and specifically in the videos. Don't use specific names or details. Confidentiality is very important. Don't diagnose or label students. If they don't have a specific diagnosis for like ADHD or dyslexia or something like that, don't self-diagnose, and keep descriptions professional and instructional within your videos and in your writing of the CalTPA. Remember, ethical framing strengthens your credibility and alignment to the rubrics, which the scorers are always looking for. And as we wrap up, I want you to think about, how do your instructional choices support access, engagement, and learning for each one of your 3 focus students? And then how do you know that those supports were effective when you were teaching? All right. If you have any questions about selecting your focus students, feel free to reach out to me at bogunovich@umassglobal.edu. or CalTPA remediation at umassglobal.edu. And I'm more than happy to get back to you. This will be posted on our YouTube channel. More to come on that. And I hope that you enjoyed this and learned how to effectively and efficiently select your focus students 1, 2, and 3 for the math cycle. Bye.